Still Prime Minister. Then the people's loyal leader of the opposition. And now Prime Minister once more. He has been my constant protection and compass. I thank the Jamaican people for the confidence they have reposed in me and my administration by re-electing us for a third term to form their government. I thank the many prayer warriors for their fervent aid, the investment in lifting wage level.
This Honourable House now resumes its sitting. I wish to welcome all members and those in attendance a warm and pleasant good afternoon to this sitting of the House of Representatives for Thursday, March 19, 2026. Today we resume what has been a spirited and engaging budget debate. We will hear from the Most Honourable Prime Minister, who will make his contribution to the debate today. I am confident, members, that you will provide him with your keen attention and that, as always, the decorum of the House will be maintained. We are joined by a number of persons today, and I would like to extend a special welcome to the following persons. Honourable Tom Tavares Finson, the President of the Senate, and other members of the Senate joining us today. It would appear our entire team of senators from the government side is seated in the Parliament. Welcome. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, Cabinet Secretary, Honourable Audrey Sewell, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Rocky Mead, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Mrs. Arlene Williams. Also, we have some very special guests seated right to my left, I'll say, at the back of the members from the opposition bench. A special contingent of ministers from across the Caribbean. Let me first recognize Dr. Hanley, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Honourable Sonia Parag, Minister of Education. She's from the Cooperative Republic of Ghana. Also, Honourable Chad Blackman from Barbados. Honourable Octavia Alfred, who joins us from the Dominica Republic. And Honourable Sheila Rogers Webster, who joins us from Anguilla. Honourable Danny Butcher, who joins us from St. Lucia. Honourable Philip Jackson, who joins us from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And Mrs. Lorraine St. Louis Need, Permanent Secretary, who joins us from Grenada. I'll make special welcome and mention of Dr. Wayne Wesley, who is the CEO and Registrar for the Caribbean Examination Council, who is also with us today. I hope I have not left anyone out. let me say to the special seated guest from St. Andrew West Central, welcome on behalf of your Member of Parliament, the constituency of the Prime Minister. To all who are packed in the chamber and in the gallery today, I hope you will enjoy today's proceedings. And for all those who have joined us across the country on the various social media platforms, be it PBCJ Live or traditional media, I trust and hope that you will find today's proceedings interesting and informative. Clerk, call of the roll.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mr. Green.
Madam Speaker, I stand here as Prime Minister, and most people would understand my job to be directing and coordinating all of government through cabinet ministers. However, I also want to point out that I stand here as a Minister of Government as well, with direct oversight of several substantial portfolio responsibilities. I don't only direct, convene, and preside, I also do the heavy lifting of ministerial work as well. Over 4 ministries. Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition only talks. I do the job of Prime Minister, and I head 4 other ministries. The leader of the opposition only talks. Many times nonsense. And takes home $27 million. In the last term, the leader of the opposition earned more than the Prime Minister. The opposition spokesman on finance stood in this house and said the opposition has no problem with the increase in MP salaries. A few days later, the PNP General Secretary put out a release saying they strongly object to the salary increase for cabinet ministers and members of parliament. Yet, Madam Speaker, none of them, with their self-righteous objection, declined to take their salary increase. None of them. In fact, Madam Speaker, they were the first ones calling the Parliament to find out the amount of their retroactive pay. I'll share this with you, Madam Speaker. A member on that side, not to be named, a member on that side, not to be named, obviously concerned that the public posture of the PNP could force the government to reverse the pay increase, called to say that I should ignore the statement of the PNP General Secretary and the leader of the opposition, as all their MPs agreed with the increase and could not survive without it. You know yourself. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, when I took the decision to forego the pay increase, I said in a widely circulated press statement, this has broader implications for not only the current holder of the office of Prime Minister, but previous Prime Ministers or their surviving spouses, and possibly future Prime Ministers. It therefore must be considered very carefully. My current decision to forego any salary increase could easily be changed by another Prime Minister in the future, or a new mandate may give an opportunity to reconsider the Prime Minister's salary. On September 3rd, 2025, Leader of the Opposition, the people of Jamaica weighed all these matters in the political scale and gave my administration a new mandate based on the work we have done to earn their confidence. Madam Speaker, I have a gift here, if the standing orders would allow. I want to give it to the Leader of the Opposition. If you don't want it, that's fine. But I thought it would have been so appropriate. I thought this would be a good. By the way, Madam Speaker, this is a cap that is one of our local designers. It's a very popular cap, and I thought that the Leader of the Opposition would do well to have a cap like this. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, the opposition spokesman on finance raised the issue of the rate of capital expenditure. He went on to suggest that the size of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development and its share of the national capital budget is a reason for slow utilization. Therefore, it should be deconstructed as a super ministry. The slow pace of utilization of the capital budget has nothing to do with the present configuration of the ministries. The cross-cutting issues of slow investment appraisal, permitting and approvals, procurement and contracting, coupled with a lack of efficient, well-resourced enterprise-scale contractors, is the cause of the low conversion of the capital budget into economic value, leading to greater levels of growth. In other words, we are an overly bureaucratic country with supply-side weaknesses which constrain our growth horizon. Despite these challenges, it must be noted that the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development, on average, has spent more than 97% of its capital allocation over the last 4 budgets. The opposition spokesman on finance would well be advised that in the 2022-2023 budget, the capital spend for the Ministry of Economic Growth and then job creation was 97.56%. In 2023-2024, it was 98.1%. In 2024-2025, it was 98.38%. And so far this year, haven't closed out as yet, we are at 95.59%. In fact, Madam Speaker, this ministry has stimulated, overseen, and supported the most sustained and robust period of infrastructure development since 1960, which in turn has resulted in the last decade being the most consistent and sustained period of quarterly growth in the last 30 years. I want to draw the attention of the House to the slide that is being displayed and to the viewing public. It's a very important slide. The economy under the Jamaica Labour Party returned 20 consecutive quarters of growth between the last quarter of 2015 and the COVID interruption. Before that, the longest quarterly stretch was 9 quarters. So there is a fundamental change in the Jamaican economy. The only time that we have not had growth would have been the COVID impact and the burial impact. The beauty of this graph that is being displayed, this table, is the speed at which the economy recovers. So, Madam Speaker, you know, there is something that we admit up front. This is not the growth rate that we would like to see. It's still very low. Nobody debates that. But, Madam Speaker, it is better than episodic growth. It is better than long periods of no growth. To get to growth, Madam Speaker, two things are necessary. They're not sufficient, but necessary. The first is to get to growth, Madam Speaker.
You had lunch.
The first is stability. And what you are seeing here as a feature of the Jamaican economy is stability. And the reason why we have this stability, it is because of the fiscal program that the government has implemented. You know, Madam Speaker, we go back and forth debating who is the father of fiscal discipline. We already said the DNA test prove that they are not the fathers of fiscal discipline. But, Madam Speaker, there is one more child of this government for which the paternity is not in question, and it is necessary for growth, and that is resilience. Madam Speaker, the author of Jamaica's resilient economic performance is this administration. The economy, as I said, Madam Speaker, gave us 20 consecutive quarters of growth between the last quarter of 2015 and the COVID interruption, and without doubt the best performance in employment generation in the history of independent Jamaica, with a most recent 3.3% unemployment rate. Again, Madam Speaker, no other government has been able to bring down unemployment to the levels that we have. We now have practically full employment, first time ever in the history of Jamaica. The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, now Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development, is doing what it was set up to do. It is a well-performing ministry. Madam Speaker, the world order as we know it has changed. I know the present state of world affairs is troubling to most Jamaicans. Uncertainty, Disruption and seeming unfairness appears to characterize the new order. Our historic colonial experiences create an almost instinctive reflex that we will be victims in a world where raw power appears to be dismantling the protection of a rules-based system, where engagement is highly transactional and opportunistic. In the minds of the average Jamaican, they may not say it in this way, but if you were to distill the thought, the question is, how are we going to navigate this space as a small country and do more than just survive, but thrive? It is a real issue when we see happening almost regularly now, wars in distant places, weaponization of sanctions. It is a concern to the average Jamaican when the price of their goods rise, having nothing to do with them. As a small country, the sense of feeling powerless is real. But as Jamaicans, as Caribbean people, we don't just cower and say we are helpless. Our history tells us we must resist as a people. It is who we are, even in the face of power, unequal and uneven. We must resist. I think the first strategy, however, Madam Speaker, is that we must learn from our past. It is not the first time that the global order has changed in profound ways. We could go back to the Napoleonic era, but we won't go that far. Let's go to the post-World War II era, 1945 to 1950, when the actual multilateral system that exists now was formed. Born out of the ashes of global conflict, it is the most decisive and extensive ordering of global affairs in modern history. The United States of America and the Allied powers constructed a global order anchored on the formation of the IMF, the World Bank, the United Nations, and the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, which we now call WTO. This multilateral order drastically reduced interstate conflict and enabled unprecedented economic growth over the last 8 years. It is not perfect, but it is better than anything that existed before. Madam Speaker, while multilateral rules-based institutions were being established, two other developments were happening in parallel. Many other developments were happening, but I want to focus on just two. The first is the emergence of what is called a bipolar power structure, which we generally call, at the time when it was emerging, the Cold War. Two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Between 1947 and 1991, the world split into two competing blocs, the US-led Western Bloc and the Soviet-led Eastern Bloc, each with its own military alliances, economic systems, and ideological frameworks. The second process, Madam Speaker, was the process of decolonization. And this was accelerating. Empires could no longer afford their colonies. Resistance against colonialism internally increased, moving dozens of states to independence across the world. Asia in the 1940s through to the 1950s. Africa in the 1950s through to the 1970s. And the Caribbean in the 1960s through to the 1980s. The United Nations started in 1945 with 51 countries. Today, it has 193 countries. Newly independent states joining this new rules-based multilateral system essentially created a third bloc. And you would hear these terms being used, I certainly heard it when I was growing up, referring to this third bloc as the third world. So the new system of global order, when it emerged with two blocks, the Western bloc, the Eastern bloc, divided by a Cold War, a process of decolonization which gave states independence, creating a third bloc. Madam Speaker, the multilateral system afforded newly independent nations like Jamaica a voice and a vote. That was very important in the multilateral system. A voice and a vote. But, Madam Speaker, we had no power. We had no military power. And we had no economic power. Madam Speaker, both superpowers sought to control this third bloc, to expand their spheres of influence, secure strategic geographies, access resources and markets, and spread their culture and ideology, or simply put, to exercise hegemony. This was the context within which Jamaica started its navigation of a complex global system at its independence. At the outset, the Right Excellent Sir Alexander Bustamante, when asked about Jamaica's alignment, declared, "We are with the West." A simple yet profound framing of Jamaica's foreign policy, economic and social program, and political direction. The Jamaica Labour Party has always taken a pragmatic yet principled approach to the multilateral system and the vicissitudes of the poles of powers within it, while staunchly maintaining our independence of thought and agency to act in our best interest. The position served Jamaica well. The period between 1962 and 1972 saw political stability, the fastest pace of growth and development of the Jamaican economy, and the build-out of our institutions. Madam Speaker, the period 1972 to 1980 of the Cold War era, the PNP government under Prime Minister Michael Manley changed Jamaica's political, economic, and social development policy and trajectory to democratic socialism, which also informed a change in Jamaica's foreign policy outlook. During that period, Jamaica joined the non-aligned movement and pursued relations with other socialist and communist countries of the Eastern Bloc, including Cuba. This was a fundamental and consequential shift based on an almost fanciful ideological aspiration. It placed us in the crossfire of a power struggle between superpowers which was not in our interest and had negative consequences domestically. This period coincided with the collapse of the Jamaican economy, our first debt crisis, the hollowing out of the middle class, and the emergence of widespread political and gang violence. Many of the challenges we face today are anchored in that period of our history. Now, look, I know what I have said here is going to stir up our antsness, because people do feel very strongly about this period, but I don't think it is ventilated enough. Look, no, what I've said here is not opinion. These are the facts. These are the facts. If you ask me for my opinion, I will give you my opinion. Right? And my opinion is that I admire Michael Manley's intellect. I admire his willingness to challenge, but I also question his judgment. Madam Speaker, as it turned out, by 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed as a pole of power, and the multilateral system entered a unipolar phase dominated by the US, Western liberal globalization, and free markets. The global socialist experiment for which the PNP diverted Jamaica had been defeated and proven to be the wrong path to be pursued. Now here are the facts. Michael Manley, and this is part of why I admire him as well, would come back to power a reformed man in 1989, abandoning the policy of democratic socialism, embracing the IMF, liberalization, privatization, free markets, and pursuing closer ties with the United States. And this is but the part of the history that is not reconciled. Why did we go down that path?
In the first place. Should not have gone down that path. Only to go to the White House.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to Jamaica-87. Wagwan, guys. Wagwan. Hope everybody is doing well. Yeah? Nice to see you guys. Nice to have you guys. Yeah? Welcome, guys. Welcome. We're there. Good. Happy Sunday to everybody. Happy Sunday to everybody. I hope I listen to them history there, you know. Nice, good history. You understand? From the teacher, the most honorable Dr. Jamaica-87. Yeah? We start off the live by playing some of the Prime Minister budget presentation, you know, because I feel that this budget presentation that the Prime Minister have presented in Parliament is very much educational. Yeah, it have a lot of substance in it, you know, and the future of Jamaica is very, very bright. You understand what I mean? So, listening to the Prime Minister budget presentation on Thursday, the Prime Minister give me food for thought. I'm telling you. Let me tell you something. When I listen to the Prime Minister budget presentation, for the entire week up till today, me just feel full. Me just feel full. The most honorable Dr. Jamaica-87 have done a tremendous job, right, in this budget presentation. Not only that, Wellington, big up yourself. the Prime Minister have come out and he have defend his administration and defend himself. Yeah? I love it. I love it. I enjoy every minute of the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness budget presentation. I like the way the Prime Minister start out his budget presentation by addressing the PMP leader, the opposition, Mark Jefferson Golding. I call him the British citizen slave master Swampy. You know what I mean? Yeah, I like the way the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness going about addressing him and about the salary that he have taken. Yeah? The Mark Golding must realize that everybody deserve their pay. Everybody deserve their pay. I don't know why Mark Golding believe that the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness don't deserve what he have worked for. Yeah? The last time I checked the good book, he said to us that, you know, by a sweat of your brow, you shall eat bread. And all know we not see where Mark Golding a sweat. But yet, he's going home with $25 million. The Prime Minister said that Mark Golding, in the last Parliament year, he went home with more money than the Prime Minister. Mark Golding went home with approximately $27 million, while the Prime Minister take home $9 million. The Prime Minister will let Mark Golding and the PMP know that when the raise of salary came about, all of them said they were up. They're going to take it, right? They also put out a statement, said that the opposition is with the pay increase. Then couple days after, the General Secretary of the PMP criminal organization would put out statement after consulting the British citizen slave master Swampy Mark Golding, said that the PMP is against the pay increase. But after that, somebody called the Parliament and asked them when they're going to get their retroactive. You know, when it comes on to parliamentarian and salary increase and all of these things, none of them have the audacity, yeah? None of them have the credibility to talk about salary increase in Parliament. Only person that have the authority to talk about parliamentarian salary is the most honorable Dr. You're going to be Dr. Sood. The most honorable Bruce Golding. Bruce Golding alone in any, whether past or present politician, him alone can talk about parliamentarian salary. Yeah, I'm alone of credibility. And the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness. One of the things that I love about the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, you know, one of the things that I love about the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness is that he came out forcefully and defend his salary and stated why. And repeat again, because him just a repeat himself. Because when they put out the statement that the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Hull is going to take his salary, they explain why. So in Parliament, when he was giving his budget presentation, he expounded on the press release that they have put out, right? This man have worked hard, worked overtime, yeah, for his salary. And anybody deserve their salary in Parliament. I know that it is the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness. The bombshell, right, and the political drama, some would call it, yeah, or theater, or whatever, yeah, is when the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness present the gift to say have a gift for the opposition leader, Mark Golding Swampy. Yeah? He pulled out a gift bag, yeah, with a nice black hat, because Mark Golding heart is very black. Mark Golding heart, indeed, is very, very black. So the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness present a black hat to Mark Golding. Yeah? And on that hat, you have anti-bad mind. Yeah? Anti-bad mind. Because you have to be bad mind to see someone like the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness work hard, yeah, moving the country forward, yeah, and you know, not taking his salary, yeah, for couple of years because he find it fit, you know, and you know, we find a word, you know, find a word, you know, we fit a statement here. The Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness have a heart, in other words, yeah, for the Jamaican people. While the rest of politicians, them no have no form of conscience, nor have no heart for nobody in this sense. You understand me? Because it was this man alone said that, all right then, I'm going to put my salary on pause. Yeah? And I'm not going to take it yet. Yeah? So for Mark Golding to bad mind the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness for taking his salary. Yeah, but yeah, man, you are dirty, anti-bad mind, yeah. Yeah, anti-bad mind, Mark Golding. Yeah? Your bad mind. Listen to me. In my Golding budget presentation, and me here, comrade, comparing the two, saying that it is the best budget presentation Mark Golding have ever give. Yeah? But when you really, really sit down as a neutral person and listen to Mark Golding budget presentation and listen to the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness budget presentation, only thing you hear come out of Mark Golding is aggression, this anti-bad mind tone, yeah, from his voice, and all of these things. Mark Golding a run out of breath. You understand? Been tracing the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness. Mark Golding's speech was all about the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness. What's all about Andrew? Mark Golding have a special hate for the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness. I don't know why, but you can hear it in his voice. You know, and I heard a research one time, and they stated in the research that to bad mind a person, yeah, it flex your muscles inside your body, and it make your body work overtime. It make your muscles them work overtime, like the blood is just rushing through, especially in your brain, where your vein is small like a thread. You understand what I mean? So the research goes to show that to bad mind a person, to envy a person, it lead to more complication, sicknesses, more than anything else. And it's not lie. I believe that research. Because to hate somebody, it take a lot out of you, you know. To hate somebody can make you ugly, you know. May I tell you? To hate a person, all right. For instance, you hate me, right? And I'm walking on the road, and you see me coming, right? Hello. You don't have nowhere to go. You don't have nowhere to turn. Some things that boil up in you, for me, it causes a lot of complication. And it will cause a lot of complication. It's not easy if you dislike somebody. It's not easy if you dislike somebody. For real, may I tell you. It will cause you your death to hate a person, to dislike a person. May I tell you. It's real. So when you hear Mark Golding in a parliament and listen to the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness budget presentation, come on. Come on. Just the tone alone. Just the tone alone. You see, when Andrew's speaking, you see how otherwise from the political drama or theater. When the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness is speaking in his budget presentation, right? You know, see the house just quiet. You know, see how Andrew just commanded the respect of the parliamentarians. Everybody is listening. They stop talking and they're listening to the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness. And I mean on both sides. On both sides. Yeah? And I don't know why when Mark Golding is presenting his budget presentation, when you look on the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, he's focused. He's listening to what Mark Golding is saying. Right? He looked Mark Golding in his eyes whenever time Mark Golding is presenting a budget presentation. My question to Mark Golding, why you can't do the same? Why you can't do the same? Every time the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness is presenting a budget presentation, you always have your head down in your phone. For what reason? Yeah? You give lick. You have to learn to take back lick. And I earlier explained how wicked bad mind is. You see, because Mark Golding bad mind and hypocritical, he can never look into the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness' face. Eh? He can never look in the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness' face. Because Mark Golding is bad mind to the core. And you can't see somebody that you hate. You can't see somebody that you hate, right? And look them straight in their face. No, sir. Your conscience now go give you that braveness, that boldness to look in a person's face that you hate. As a matter of fact, your mind is telling you, your heart is telling you, you know, you wish, yeah, the die or disappear or something out of your sight. You understand what I mean? But something happened when the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness present that anti-bad mind had to Mark Golding in the background of the PMP criminal organization. And I don't know how much of you have picked that up, right? When Andrew take out that hat and present it to Mark Golding. Do you hear Nikisha Burchell in the background? Nikisha Burchell in the background, behaving like a wild animal. Yeah? And to tell you the truth, I heard people talk, before I even got here, I hear people talk about Nikisha Burchell, and the PMP is putting up Nikisha Burchell to become the next leader of the PMP. and all of these things. I heard it, and I heard some bloggers with it too. Yeah? But the same way how me can see Damian Crawford as any leader in the PMP is the same way me can see Nikisha Burchell. It's the same way me can see Dr. Dawes. Yeah? I can't see none of them as any leader of the PMP. Yeah? Nikisha Burchell was in the background when the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Owens present the hat. Said that the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Owens must give to his wife. How the most... Nikisha Burchell and Mark Golding, Peter Bunting, the one of them, because according to PMP political drama, yeah, Nikisha Burchell is Peter Bunting's side chick. Yeah, and a long time, them said that happened. Yeah? So they have a personal hate, especially Nikisha Burchell. From Mrs. Holness speak to her about coming into Parliament with all of her breasts be showing. Yeah? Like she a got a party or something, or she out in a public. Nobody now say, boy, you know, if you show your parts. Because indeed, you spend a lot of money to do your ass and do your body. Yeah? Do your breasts and something. So you want to show it. But the Parliament is not a place to go and show your physiques. Nobody don't want to see it. You understand what I mean? Nobody don't want to see it. So from Mrs. Holness speak to her about it. It's like she not to uphold to the rules and laws in the Parliament. She's saying to the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Owens, give it to your wife. Give it to your wife. And Dear Mortada, Nikisha Burchell. Dear Mortada, and you see you, Nikisha Burchell, you is one-term MP. I'm telling you that. One-term MP. You understand what I mean? Because the PMP is putting you on a high stool to fall off. Yeah? And remember this. I said it out of respect. I said it out of respect. Because you can see some people's future in politics, the way how they behave and the way they carry themselves. Yeah? And it's not like I'm here tearing down Nikisha Burchell. Yeah? No. But by her actions, yeah, I can tell that she's just a one-time member of Parliament. One-time member of Parliament. Yeah, man. You ever see how she behave? I'm watching the finance standing committee. Yeah? And Azan, the opposition spokesperson on works, road works, yeah, was questioning the Most Honorable Nesta Morgan, the Minister of Works, yeah? And Azan was asking some questions. And Nikisha Burchell was right beside him in asking the question. Nikisha Burchell all up in Azan here. I mean, like, if I could take something and just fling it in the TV and it catch Nikisha Burchell, I would do it. Because she sounds so disgusting. Because I'm here listening to the question that Azan is asking. And her yap were overpowering the question that the opposition want to ask. Those behavior of Nikisha Burchell in the Parliament, you know, is unacceptable. And somebody need to call her or the opposition leader. Need to take her and bring her in her office and speak to her about her behavior in Parliament. That was very rude of her to be talking about the Prime Minister must give the hat to his wife. But the Prime Minister always said to all of us, yeah, that support him and his party. Whenever time the PMP go low, right, we must forever go high. Yeah? The history that the Prime Minister spoken about with Cuba, Michael Manley. And I again, when I heard the Prime Minister giving this lecture in Parliament, because a lot of young people don't know these things, yeah? And me, myself, have to do my research to know all of what the Prime Minister was saying in his budget presentation. When you check it out, because I always want to understand why the PMP is so in love with this man, Michael Manley. Yeah? Why the PMP don't want anybody to mention Michael Manley, especially on the opposing side of them. Yeah? Listen to me. If you want to get PMP angry, cross, miserable, just start to criticize Michael Manley. Yeah? When I read about Michael Manley contribution to Jamaica wasn't that great. Wasn't that great. As a matter of fact, some of the worst time that we have after independence was when Michael Manley was running this country. That's what my research have taught me. The most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael will make a crucial point. The way how Michael Manley did want the way how he did want to push Jamaica. It couldn't work. The Prime Minister stated, Bustamante always stated that they are with the West. But man, Michael Manley come and change everything and said, no. The same thing that Cuba is doing, that's what we the people, and we the government of Jamaica, the PMP, going to start to do. And when Michael Manley start to implement all the policies them, I try to bring the regime from Cuba to Jamaica. When Michael Manley find out that in his 5 years, when Michael Manley find out say he no work, and he take back over government in 1989, Michael Manley shift course. Michael Manley start to shift course and start to align himself with the West. So the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, in his budget presentation, give us a brief history of Michael Manley and what what Michael Manley contribute to Jamaica in the 1970s to the 1980s. And it's a good lesson for us to learn. Good lesson for us to learn. So all of us is looking, listening to the Prime Minister budget presentation. You understand what I mean? So we are going to listen continually, listen to the Prime Minister budget presentation, and we see what else we can take out of the Prime Minister budget presentation. Okay, guys?
Now she's clearing the sink.
Hold on, guys.
Let's just pretend like...
Hold on, guys.
That is the question that keeps bothering me. Because it must bother every Jamaican, because had we not diverted for 10 years, even if we had changed government, but kept strategic and wise policies, Jamaica would be far better. Far better. As we have seen with countries like Singapore, facing the same challenges, but maintained a strategic and wise foreign policy.
As a capitalist. 18 years as a capitalist.
Madam Speaker, today we see the global system changing again, moving from a unipolar world to now a multipolar world, with the rise of China, India, the reassertion of Russia, and the EU. There are now more players who can exercise military, economic, technological, and normative power within the multilateral system than when it was designed 80 years ago. This means there is likely to be greater contestation within the multilateral system and less automatic consensus on issues and solutions. There is also a greater likelihood of fragmentation, which is what we are seeing now, as powers seek to advance their interests unilaterally. It begs for a reform, urgent reform actually, of the global multilateral system. We cannot abandon it, but it must be reformed to take into consideration these new power dynamics that have emerged. In this dynamic foreign policy environment, Jamaica must be strategic. We cannot go down the road of ideological rhetoric. Been there, done that. Foreign policy is about having a clear framework of principles and values within which we pursue our interests, while treating with the interests and powers of others with whom we engage. My administration has always ensured that our foreign policy serves our economic interests. Whatever I do must make sure that Jamaica can recover quickly, that the person in Westmoreland whose house has not yet been restored, that the chances of a quick restoration is not hampered. And we see the benefits of our foreign policy efforts in the swift mobilization of relief and access to over $6 billion of reconstruction funds from the multilateral financial system. I don't want anybody to talk about foreign policy, because there's no other era in which Jamaica's foreign policy has delivered economic benefits for the people of Jamaica. A strong multilateral system is in Jamaica's interest, and we will always do our part to ensure it works. The essence of agency is that you act on your own will. As a responsible member of the global community, Jamaica will always take the necessary action to be compliant with all our obligations under the multilateral system. Nobody has to put sanction on us or force us because we have agency. The country would have seen this in our actions when our actions caused us to be removed from the FATF and the AML-CTF grey list in 2024. Grey list, the way our structure and system was, it was reviewed, we ended up on the grey list. Every member of the government worked very hard, including members of the opposition, to pass the necessary legislation, make the necessary policy changes. I mean, there were those saying that these, imperialists imposing global financial things on us, make we resist it. And what, lose access to the international banking system? That's the logic of the argument. Yes, there are things we must resist when it comes to our values. There are things that define us as Jamaicans that we're not going to change on those. Man is a man, woman is a woman. We're not going to change on that. So we do. But we look at the things that are also in our economic interest. All right. So, Madam Speaker, similarly, when concerns were raised with the government of Jamaica by the United States regarding the Cuban medical mission more than a year ago, I want you to pay attention to that. More than a year ago, we reviewed the program against our laws and the various multilateral conventions under which we have obligations. And let me say from the outset that the Cuban medical mission has been beneficial to the people of Jamaica. The Cuban doctors and nurses have assimilated quite well in our hospital system and have developed strong bonds with the people they serve. I can say that Jamaicans love them and want them to stay. However, there were some aspects of the program which were brought to the attention of the Cuban counterparts, our Cuban counterparts, to include how personnel were paid, that run counter to our own laws and several international conventions. We were hopeful that adjustments could be made to the program to make it compliant and that we could have reached some agreement where we could continue to have the direct services of the Cuban health professionals who are here. We continue to be hopeful that some agreement, arrangement, some changes can be made to the program. We continue to be. However, Madam Speaker, I want it to be noted and always acknowledged in the debate that every year since I have been Prime Minister and before, in this House, we have debated motions on the embargo on Cuba. Yes, my administration did that. Carrying on the position of the PNP administration and the JLP administration before and the PNP administration before. So this notion about abandoning friends and look here, man, keep that in the 70s. We are in a different era now. All my speeches to the UN General Assembly, there are a few lines in there about Cuba and the embargo. When I spoke at CARICOM, I spoke fairly and frankly. As our closest neighbor, we are concerned for the situation in Cuba. Through CARICOM, Jamaica will do its part to offer support for our brothers and sisters in Cuba. We take note of press reports that talks have opened between Cuba and the United States. This is a moment for reform and reset, and we are hopeful for a positive outcome. In all of what is being said and insinuated, there's one question that must be answered. What would the PNP have done?
Absolutely. Nothing different. Absolutely. You could have said
Well, we won't know. We won't know. Madam Speaker, there are moments in the life of a nation that test not only our systems, but our soul. Hurricane Melissa was one such moment. The slide that is about to be displayed shows the path Hurricane Melissa took across the island. Hurricanes are becoming more frequent and more intense. I want the country, members of parliament, the guests here to internalize what I'm about to say. In the 65 years since 1960, the Atlantic has produced 799 recorded storms in the last 65 years. Remarkably, 201 of them, or a quarter, occurred in the last decade. Of the 34 Category 5 hurricanes recorded since 1960, 14, or roughly 38% of them, have occurred since 2015. If that is not showing you that the climate is changing. Meteorologists describe Melissa as the strongest tropical cyclone the Earth is physically capable of producing, a storm at the limits of nature's fury. When the winds finally settled and the rain relented, what greeted us in western parishes was not merely damage, it was devastation of a kind that defies description. Madam Speaker, I have seen photographs of Hiroshima, the haunting, flattened silence after the atomic bomb fell in August 1945. A city reduced in a single moment to ash. When I traveled through St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland in the days after Melissa, I understood viscerally what that kind of erasure looks like. And yet, Jamaica did not fall. We were tested at the very limits of nature's power, and we did not break. Our economy held, our institutions functioned, and our people adapted. In those same parishes, even as debris still lay heavy across the land, I met farmers already planning their next planting. I met mothers clearing the rubble with their bare hands so their children could have somewhere to sleep. I met small business owners who had lost everything but were ready to start again. In those moments, I felt something that no storm on earth can touch. The quiet, indestructible resolve of a people who have never, not once in our history, chosen to surrender. Madam Speaker, before anything else, we acknowledge with gratitude, humility, and reverence that God's hand was upon this island, and that we were spared the full measure of what Hurricane Melissa could have done. But alongside grace, Proverbs 22 verse 3 tells us that a prudent man foresees danger and takes precaution. Jamaica took precautions, not only in the hours before landfall, but in the years before the storm. Madam Speaker, when Melissa was still days away, shelters were activated, evacuation orders were issued, and emergency communications tested. The public was kept informed of the trajectory of the hurricane and precautionary measures to be taken through several public briefings and media announcements. We were as ready as this country has ever been for a hurricane. The investment this government has made in our security forces over the past decade, expanding personnel, equipment, and technology, growing our helicopter fleet, which turned out to be a very wise investment, strengthening our offshore patrol vessels, deepening our engineering and logistics capacity, paid dividends in those critical hours and days after Melissa struck. The seamless interface between national coordination and operational capacity was one of the defining institutional achievements of the Melissa response. It is a model we will build on, strengthen, and sustain. Madam Speaker, we would not be doing justice to the response if we did not also acknowledge what the experience exposed. Melissa stretched Our systems, logistics chains were strained, fuel and maintenance capacity came under pressure. Maritime and air assets ordinarily deployed to border security and surveillance had to be diverted to humanitarian relief, creating windows of reduced coverage, which we cannot afford to ignore. These are not failures, they are lessons, and we are acting on them. In recognition of the strategic importance of disaster management to national security, the government transferred the Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management portfolio to the Office of the Prime Minister. This was not a bureaucratic organization, it was a declaration of national priority, positioning disaster resilience at the apex of the government's strategic agenda and creating the structural proximity between ODPEM, the JDF, and the effective civil-military cooperation that is needed to adequately respond to a disaster of this nature. As we strengthen ODPEM, we are not seeking to contain within its walls every capability Jamaica needs to manage disasters. ODPEM's effectiveness going forward will rest on the quality of its coordination with the full ecosystem of national capability, drawing on the entities with experience in digital infrastructure, cybersecurity resilience, geospatial data mapping, and spatial analytics. Madam Speaker, I want to point out that in the weeks immediately following Hurricane Melissa, something extraordinary happened. A moment when countries would have faced downgrades, economic uncertainty, and capital flight. All three major international credit rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch, reaffirmed Jamaica's sovereign standing with stable outlook. And Moody's went even further. They upgraded us. Now can you imagine? After a hurricane, the rating agency said, well, you know, even with the hurricane, you have done so well. I'm going to maintain your outlook. Yeah. I just want everyone to stop and reflect on that for a moment. It sent a powerful signal to the world that Jamaica's resilience, note the word now, not stability, Jamaica's resilience, which is what we have put into the economy, is not only social and emotional, meaning our people's ability to withstand disaster, but it is also institutional in the agencies that we have created in terms of fiscal and economic. That credibility wasn't gifted to us, it was earned through years of discipline, courageous reform, and sound governance. And it has now become an asset we are deploying in the service of every Jamaican. And the results are already visible. The recovery from Hurricane Melissa is proceeding faster than anyone initially projected. But speed of recovery does not happen by accident. It is a product of fiscal strength deliberately built and strategically deployed. Consider what that means in practice. Within weeks, the government extended a loan of $150 million to the Jamaica Public Service Company to support the immediate restoration of electricity across the island. That single intervention accelerated the reconnection of communities, businesses, hospitals, and the resumption of daily rhythm of life that so many Jamaicans depend on. Today, electricity and water have been restored to approximately 99% of customers. Madam Speaker, let us be clear about what that made possible. A government that had maintained fiscal discipline, reduced its debt burden, built buffers and reserves, and earned the confidence of the international markets, wrote the check. The loan to JPS was the difference between the family sitting in the dark for 6 months and getting back electricity in 3 weeks. It's the difference between a farmer losing an entire season and getting back to work. It's the difference between despair and dignity.
Yes, people, I'll be again. And the Prime Minister says something that is significant, right? And can you imagine if the Prime Minister did not lend JPS, this 150 million US dollars. Up to today, yeah? Up to today, we will never have 70% of those who are affected by the storm, right? They want to get back in the light yet? They want to get back in the light yet? Remember the opposition was saying to the government must not lend JPS any money, right? The government must let JPS go and borrow the money. In order for the government to let JPS go and borrow the money, the government would have to extend JPS license. And the government already stated that they're not going to extend JPS license because the Jamaican people under this license is feeling the blunt of the PMP criminal organization bad policies. So can you imagine if the government did not lend JPS that $150 million? A whole heap of people would out our light. And Mark Gordon present his budget presentation. And can you imagine what Mark Gordon would said in Parliament when he is giving his budget presentation about JPS and about the people that don't have no electricity? You see, this Prime Minister, this Prime Minister think 5 steps ahead of Mark Gordon or 20 steps ahead of Mark Gordon. You understand me? The man is thinking about the people of Jamaica and is also making decisions that will not affect him politically. Yes. So what the Prime Minister is saying is very significant. So let us continue to listen to the Prime Minister.
Our recovery has been unprecedented in its speed. Agricultural output has rebounded more quickly than anticipated. Inflation has come in below projections, enabling the Bank of Jamaica to reduce its policy interest rate to 5.5% in February 2026 and revise its projection for full economic recovery down to 3 to 2 years from the earlier 3 to 4 years that was projected. Madam Speaker, we have proven our resilience. Now is the time to claim another feature of an economy: resurgence. So you move from chaos to no growth, to stability, to resilience. And now, Madam Speaker, today, this budget is the first declaration that Jamaica will resurge. What is the difference between resilience and resurgence? Resilience is defensive. It is the capacity to absorb a blow and remain standing. Resurgence is forward-leaning. It is the decision to move with purpose, with ambition, with a vision of something greater than what existed before. We will not simply patch what is broken. We will build forward stronger, smarter, and more equitably than before. The suffering of our Western parishes will not be a footnote in our national story. It will be the catalyst for our next great chapter. For Jamaica, adversity has been a full stop. It has always, well, Madam Speaker, let me read that properly. For Jamaica, adversity has never been a full stop. Has never been a full stop. It has always been just a comma. a brief pause before we rise again. We have endured, now we will build together. Madam Speaker, this government is leveraging our national resilience and international confidence in order to translate it into a platform for accelerated national development. Through close engagement with our multilateral partners, including the IMF, the World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, CAF, and the Caribbean Development Bank, Jamaica secured US $6.7 billion in terms of a financial package within weeks of the hurricane. This is the largest and fastest mobilization of development financing in Jamaica's history, and it was made possible not by the hurricane, but by everything Jamaica had built before it. Madam Speaker, the discipline of yesterday is funding the resurgence of tomorrow. But financing alone is not enough. We must, as a country, confront an uncomfortable reality. While Jamaica has built one of the most credible macroeconomic frameworks in the developing world, the execution of large investment projects too often moves at a pace that belongs in another era. Layers of approvals, fragmented processes, and rigid procurement rules, though designed with good intention, can make it difficult to move quickly when transformational opportunities arise. In today's global economy, capital is highly mobile, and investors compare jurisdictions not only on stability and incentives, but on speed of decision-making and certainty of execution. Too often, promising opportunities have gone elsewhere, to countries that are simply more nimble. We cannot allow this to continue. Even recently, Madam Speaker, I have seen projects that were eyeing Jamaica. Investors got frustrated and have gone elsewhere. We are advancing two powerful and complementary reforms. One focused on how we build infrastructure and the other on how we attract and accelerate transformational private investments. NARA will have special powers, that is the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, will have special powers to accelerate development approvals as well as procurement, enabling the execution of resilient infrastructure projects at a scale and speed this country has never seen before. NARA is not only about project delivery, it is about project networking to create new economies in areas impacted by the disaster and to introduce the greatest expansion of our economy in the shortest period of time in our history. Madam Speaker, NARA will turn a crisis into an opportunity for Jamaica. One of the most important lessons of Jamaica's economic reform journey was that execution requires not only institutional capacity, but credible, independent oversight. The Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, became internationally recognized as a model of transparent, civil society-led accountability that gave Jamaicans and international partners confidence that the fiscal program was being implemented as agreed. We will use a similar model for NARA called JAMROC, that is Jamaica Reconstruction and Resilience Oversight Committee. And I'm pleased to announce that JAMROC will be chaired by Professor Peter Blair Henry, a son of Jamaica, who is currently a senior fellow at Stanford University's Hoover Institution. He is a vice chair of the National Bureau of Economic Research and I hear somebody say an academic, but listen to this part of it. A member of the boards of Citigroup and Nike, who has risen to the very pinnacle of international economics and public policy, and who brings back to this country a lifetime of intellectual and practical achievements and a personal commitment to Jamaica's development that has never wavered. The search for NARA's chief executive officer is also well advanced, following an open advertisement, both locally and internationally. 5 candidates have been shortlisted, and we are going through the interview and evaluation process. Madam Speaker, a complementary reform to NARA addresses the investment attraction problem. We will introduce a new framework called Fast Jamaica, the facilitated acceleration of strategic transformation. This will be part of our national growth inducement strategy through investment. Fast Jamaica will establish a dedicated pathway to fast-track strategic priority investment projects critical to Jamaica's economic transformation, particularly those with an investment value of US $150 million or more that can commence implementation within a year and could be integrated into the NARA network of projects. The framework will focus on projects in sectors that will shape Jamaica's competitiveness, and we're looking at areas such as energy infrastructure, digital infrastructure and telecommunications, logistics, air and seaports, water, sewage and desalination, low-income housing and urban development, high-value tourism including wellness, medical and sports tourism, entertainment and the creative industries, STEM education and research, specialized healthcare, high-value agriculture and agro-processing, advanced manufacturing, and critical minerals, including rare earth elements. Cabinet will retain the ability to designate additional sectors where strategic opportunities arise. Central to Fast Jamaica will be a strategic investment council, a high-level body tasked with the initial screening and evaluation of major investment proposals. The elements of this already exist between JAMPRO, DBJ, and the Cabinet Office. The Council will assess the strategic merit, economic impact, and national interest considerations of each proposed project and will recommend to Cabinet the most appropriate development modality, whether public-private partnership, joint venture, concession arrangements, or otherwise, as well as whether the project should proceed through direct negotiation or a competitive process. Projects approved by Cabinet will be designated strategic investment projects and will benefit from accelerated approvals across government, coordinated regulatory engagement, and dedicated facilitation teams to ensure efficient execution. Fast Jamaica will also allow the government, where appropriate, to engage with unsolicited proposals from investors, recognizing that some of the most transformative projects originate from private sector proprietary knowledge. Madam Speaker, Fast Jamaica is not about weakening safeguards. It is about modernizing how government partners with strategic investors in a fast-moving global economy. Fiscal exposure will continue to be rigorously addressed by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. Cabinet will retain full oversight of all final agreements, but what will change is the speed, coordination, and clarity with which Jamaica engages with major investment opportunities. Together, these reforms represent a fundamental shift in Jamaica's execution architecture. They answer the question that has haunted this nation for too long. Why does so much promise take so long to become a reality? We have accomplished a lot but we could have accomplished so much more. So, Madam Speaker, NARA is established. We will have the legislation. I will table the legislation today. We have interviewed 5 shortlisted persons to become the Chief Executive Officer. We will make a determination shortly. We have selected someone to head the oversight body, and we will have conversations with members of civil society, the opposition, and other interest groups to fill out that body. So NARA is established. The purpose of NARA is to take all the projects that we have had in development, or some of them in File 13, and all the new projects, and coordinate their implementation. It will work directly with the projects that the government is leading. But that is not going to be enough. We need to crowd in the private sector, and that is why we have FAST working in complement with NARA. And a typical way in which this will work, Madam Speaker, when I go to show you all the projects that NARA will likely do, you will see that there are great opportunities for the private sector to come in. Every highway that we put in opens up lands for housing, low-income housing, for tourism, for agriculture, for manufacturing. Madam Speaker, NARA's first and most consequential mandate will be to prepare a comprehensive project and economic plan to deliver within the next 4 years. And when we say deliver, we mean complete within the next 4 years. Today, I lay out a transformative vision for Jamaica by highlighting several national projects across the length and breadth of the country. Many of these projects are not new. They have appeared in development plans, consultancy report, policy discussions for years, in some cases for decades. This vision was never the problem. What was missing was the mechanism to convert them from aspirations into reality. The financing, the institutional architecture, and the enabling environment. We now have all of these. Some of these projects will be delivered through NARA, others will be executed through existing institutions and public-private partnerships operating alongside and in concert with NARA. What unites them all is a single coherent national vision. A Jamaica rebuilt stronger, planned smarter, connected more efficiently, and distributed more equitably. Where every region of this island is a functioning engine of growth, and where the resurgence we are claiming is visible, tangible, and felt in the daily lives of every Jamaican. I will highlight a few of these projects starting in the southwest. Black River. Madam Speaker, I want to start in Black River, because Black River tells a story that is larger than one town. It is the story of the existential vulnerability of low-lying coastal communities to the intensifying force of climate change. Black River is one of Jamaica's oldest and most storied towns. Founded in the 18th century, it was among the first places on this island to receive electricity, piped water, and the motor car, a proud maritime hub, the commercial heart of St. Elizabeth, gateway for the logwood and rum and pimento trade that shaped our economic history. The Georgian wooden houses along the waterfront, the masonry, mercantile buildings, the civic structures by the sea, all spoke to a town of character, history, and dignity. But Black River grew as many Caribbean coastal towns grew, parallel to the shoreline. Its hospital, its courthouse, its market, its homes, all concentrated along the coast, all exposed. For generations, that vulnerability was managed, tolerated, absorbed. But Hurricane Melissa ended that. Storm surges of 8 to 14 feet tore along the Crane Road corridor. The historic waterfront was devastated, civic buildings destroyed, critical infrastructure severely compromised. Madam Speaker, we will not rebuild Black River as it was. We will rebuild it as it should be. And in so doing, create something this town has never possessed in its 300 years of history: a real planned, consolidated urban core. The Urban Development Corporation, working with our development partners, is advancing a climate-resilient redevelopment plan that separates what belongs inland from what belongs on the coast. The heart of the plan is the new urban center, to be developed inland, safely above storm surge and projected sea level rise. And you can see a representation of where that urban center is going to be and what it, well, that's the waterfront, but what it could look like. So, this is where Black River's essential public functions, its hospital, courthouses, municipal offices, police station, tax office, schools, market, and transport hub will be consolidated into a planned, workable, flood-safe precinct for the first time. It will have a proper town square, a civic park. The buildings will be designed to withstand Category 5 wind loads, built on elevated platforms above projected sea level rise scenarios with utility corridors, drainage infrastructure, and emergency redundancy. The historic waterfront will be protected by a layer of coastal defense systems, submerged offshore breakwaters to dissipate wave energy before it reaches shore, a concrete seawall integrated with a continuous public boardwalk, and engineered revetments along the most vulnerable stretches of coastline. The waterfront will become what it always had the potential to be: a vibrant public amenity, an entertainment and tourism corridor, a place where boutique hotels and restaurants and cultural experiences make this stretch of Jamaica South Coast a genuine destination. So, the same questions that Melissa forced on Black River must now be confronted everywhere, and the answers must be guided by the same logic, applied consistently, deliberately, and at national scale. That logic can be distilled into 4 foundational principles that will guide how we plan, build, and invest going forward. The first principle is strategic spatial planning and risk-informed development. What happened in Black River happened because for decades, development decisions were made without regard to hazard mapping, flood risk, or climate projections. That must now change. Critical national infrastructure must progressively be relocated away from high-risk coastal zones. Hospitals, schools, utilities, highways, and logistic facilities must be positioned with full regard to storm surge, flooding, and sea level rise. Where we build is as important as what we build. The second principle is building redundancy in distributed systems across critical infrastructure. Black River's civic core was concentrated in one exposed corridor. And when Melissa struck, a single surge compromised everything simultaneously. That is not resilience, that is fragility. Our transportation corridor, power systems, water supply, telecommunications, network and logistics systems must be engineered with backup capacity and distributed architecture so that when one part of the system is struck, the rest keeps functioning. Resilience is incompatible with single points of failure. The third principle is the integration of regional development and resilient economic clusters. The Black River Plan does not end at the town's boundary. It connects to housing developments, agricultural corridors, tourism infrastructure, and the regional road network across the South Coast. That is intentional. Resilience cannot be built by project. It has to be built by a network. Connectivity, roads, hospitals, schools, housing, energy systems, and government services must be planned together to create a self-sustaining regional ecosystem. The fourth principle is economic diversification and production resilience. A resilient nation is not only physically strong, it is economically adaptable. Black River's rebuilt waterfront will anchor not just tourism, but wellness, marine recreation, heritage experience, and culinary offerings rooted in St. Elizabeth's agricultural identity. That diversification, away from dependence on a single sector, any single market, any single source of economic activity, is the model for Jamaica as a whole. We must broaden our productive base. Madam Speaker, the redevelopment of Black River will embody all four principles. It will be proof of concept that Jamaica has learned lessons and that we are determined to apply them not just to the historic town of the South Coast, that is the Black River, but to every parish, every corridor, and every community of this island that faces the same challenge as we seek to build forward stronger. Now, Madam Speaker, I know the people of Black River are anxious. Your MP, I could only describe it as anxiety. He's also anxious. Particularly persons who own property in proximity to the coast that sustained damage. There's a certain level of uncertainty. They're not sure whether or not they should rebuild, restart. Many of them have reached out to say, Prime Minister, I don't want to restart. In fact, there are several who have said, I was even contemplating coming out of business. Melissa's hastened the decision, but they want some indication so that they can figure out how to plan. And we hear on our side the magnitude and scale of what we are planning to do can't be rushed. We can't make wrong decisions. So we have to think these things out carefully, put in place the systems and the structure. So today I would have laid out for you the NARA, which will manage it, the legal framework under which it is going to be managed. So we are well there. So I would say to the people of Black River, we have identified suitable lands to support a structured program of relocation and reconstruction for housing and business. For businesses, the town of Black River, for businesses in the town of Black River, the UDC has been asked to begin dialogue with property owners regarding acquisition of property and relocation where necessary. Madam Speaker, I don't want to say too much here because I know how, what leaves here and lands there might be two different things. So I prefer that the entity, I have tasked them to go and start the dialogue, that they go and speak to the people directly. After agreement is reached, then you can speak publicly. Early next month, various agencies of the government will begin the consultations and sensitization with specific communities in Black River and along that corridor regarding relocation of their communities. The truth is there are just some communities that proximity to the swamp, threat from the sea, when we look at all of the risk maps that the best option is to relocate. But we know how difficult this is. And so we will handle this in a very sensitive way. We will ensure in a very transparent way as well. We will ensure that nobody is at a loss and that livelihoods are enhanced as a result of it. It is not something that is going to happen overnight. We acknowledge this, but it is something that we must do. So we will start the conversations individually with them. Madam Speaker, as you can see, there are several exciting transformational projects planned for the southwestern region, including Fonthill. Yes, with its world-class ecotourism potential, Fonthill is down for development. The airport in Little London, which was already announced, that will be brought on to the NARA project sheet, and the new urban center in Negril, that as well will be brought on to the NARA sheet. And I wanted to just draw your attention to the road network. There, the lines in red are showing you new highways and corridors that will be built. One of them will be the extension of the east-west highway from the Williamsfield leg, bypassing Spur Tree. And then there is another corridor which will not run on the coast, but more inland, but will connect to where the new Black River Urban Center will be. So all of these roads will be under NARA, and they will be started and completed within the next 4 years. In fact, these roads should be completed within the next 3 years. What we learned from the hurricane is that in the immediate few days, we did not have access. The roads were impassable, they were blocked. And, you know, one of the problems was just how the road was built.
Guys, you hear the Prime Minister talking about NARA. Yeah? In developing Jamaica going forward, we cannot continue on the trajectory that the government is on. Right now, if the government need to do, if the government want to build a new road right now, the government have to go through a lot of procurement and ministry and get approved and all of these things. And sometimes it take up to years to get this road approved to build. Right? So this rebuilding after Melissa, we need to speed up things and we need to get things moving. And that is the reason why the Prime Minister and the government is creating NARA. You understand what I mean? NARA have have access. You understand what I mean? Have access to do things more faster. Because all of these roads, as the Prime Minister said, that is coming on stream, those road is going to compete in 3 years' time. That is very, very brilliant. And guess what that does too? That boosts productivity. You understand what I mean? The way how government set up right now. Let me tell you something. Jamaica is suffering right now. You understand what I mean? Because the way how we want to develop, we can't develop the way that we want to develop. Because of the procurement issues and all of these things in government. And one of the things that why it being so hard is because of corruption. You understand what I mean? Corruption used to play governments upon governments. So that every time there is corruption, they always create these policies and put it in place for politicians and civil servants to find it more harder to steal from the government. You understand what I mean? So they put in all of these things, laws and all of these things. But the most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness and his government create NARA. And listen to me, NARA going to be responsible for actually every projects that is going forward. The urban center that is going to build in St. Elizabeth, the urban center that's going to build in other parishes, the roads and all of these things. NARA is the one that's going to control all of these things. You understand me? All of these things.
We had no...
So, this is a good look for the government and this is a good look for the people of Jamaica. Let us see some more, guys.
challenges with the highways. No highway was blocked because these roads were built to different standards, different drainage provisions were made. Now, St. Elizabeth, which didn't have it before, will now have 2 modern highways traversing the parish.
That is it.
Madam Speaker, I now turn to the northwest end of the island. Relax, man. No, but the member, just to put the member at ease. What I'm presenting here are, large-scale reconstruction projects. For Westmoreland, you would have heard what we're going to do with Negril and so forth. But for the other areas, it is mostly housing reconstruction. So I will address that. I will address that under a different modality. So, Madam Speaker, anyone who has driven from Montego Bay to Negril knows the bottlenecks at Hopewell and Lucy. This is not just a quality of life frustration, it is an economic cost. Every hour of unnecessary journey time is a deterrent to tourism investment, a disincentive to the visitor's experience, and a brake on the development of Hanover's enormous untapped potential. Madam Speaker, Hanover has so much potential, but it is, almost like an interland in Jamaica. And in the same way that we have opened up St. Thomas, we will open up Hanover for development. The government will advance the Hopewell and Lucy bypass, running through a connection point on the Long Hill bypass, which is already under construction. In St. James, traversing Westford with link road serving both Hopewell and Lucy before terminating on the westward side of Lucy. The alignment will run approximately 3 kilometers south of the existing coastal road. This will unlock the entire waterfront stretch between Montego Bay and Negril as prime resort lands. In addition to the bypass, we intend to develop the Lucy Harbour into a premium boating destination. Sheltered from the prevailing winds, with deep natural water and proximity to emerging resorts on that belt between Montego Bay and Negril, Lucy Harbour has every natural attribute required to become a premium boating destination. So under NARA, this is something that we will do to create the economic incentive, but this is a perfect project for private sector. And so NARA will stimulate, facilitate, coordinate, but more than that, get it done quickly. The town of Lucy itself is similarly at risk for storm and wave action. In other words, it faces the same threats as Black River. In fact, probably worse, because Lucy is actually below sea level. So I wish to indicate here that consideration is being given to the eventual construction of a new town center for Lucy when the bypass that we have spoken about is complete. So we won't do it in this round. We can't take on too much. But let's do the bypass first, and then we do the urban centers. Madam Speaker, I want to talk about St. James, Montego Bay in particular. Recently, I was written to by one of the tourism interests in Montego Bay, expressing real concern about the state of the town, how it looks, the collection of garbage, the public facilities that are there, and there is a real concern raised, and I want the tourism community to know that the government hears your cry. We're not just sensitive to it, we're working to have it addressed. One of the big issues, which I know is a challenge, is the collection of municipal waste, the collection of garbage. And I'm sure Minister Mackenzie will address this at some point, but you recall when we said we have over 500,000 truckloads of debris to move. We have made a dent on it, but it has been at the expense of the diversion of the limited stock of equipment that we have from the municipal operations into the debris management operations. I think very shortly we will have to bring the debris management to either a pause or an end so that we can refocus on the municipal issues. So I want to indicate to the people of St. James, yes, we hear you, and we are going to address this problem in short order. Madam Speaker, Montego Bay is our tourism capital, and it is time we undertook new investments to revitalize and secure its position as the leading destination in the Caribbean. Hurricane Melissa inflicted severe damage across Montego Bay, particularly in the coastal communities of Catherine Hall and West Green and Freeport. The destruction was painful, but it has given us something valuable, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reimagine this corridor in a way that is bolder and more resilient. But we must first protect this city, which is a key pillar of Jamaica's economy. Montego Bay has long been vulnerable to flooding. Its rivers, when overwhelmed, have repeatedly brought misery to communities. The government will therefore undertake significant investments in river training to contain, manage, and direct floodwaters away from communities and commercial areas and critical infrastructure. The people of West Green and Catherine Hall will be very happy to hear this. And downtown Montego Bay, yes. Madam Speaker, the Montego Bay Freeport and its surrounding areas represent one of the most strategically valuable and scenically spectacular stretches of real estate in the entire Caribbean. It is home to our mixed-use cargo and cruise ship port and the Montego Bay Free Zone, and is flanked by major hotels, premium residential developments, and a forthcoming 28-story mixed-use hotel and residential complex, a powerful signal of the confidence that investors already place in this corridor. At the same time, the soon-to-be completed Montego Bay Perimeter Road is fundamentally reshaping the economic geography of the wider region, opening new corridors and unlocking additional lands for investment that were previously out of reach. Our plan is to gradually relocate the BPO and light industrial activities in the free zone to new purpose-built facilities along the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, catalyzing vibrant economic activity along the emerging corridor while providing modern, world-class, purpose-designed spaces. The thinking and the beauty of this strategy is that this will free up prime waterfront lands on the Freeport Peninsula for their highest and best use. We envision a landmark mixed-use development, commercial, retail, and premium residential seamlessly woven into the urban fabric of the city. comparable in ambition and elegance to the celebrated Brickell waterfront in Miami. And at the heart of this vision will be a performing arts theatre. It always is a puzzle to me. Every hotel has to have their own entertainment package. You know, we could invest in developing real premium entertainment if we had a proper performing arts center. You know, we could even invite Broadway to come and have plays there that the tourists could, instead of having to be stuck in the all-inclusives, they have somewhere to go. Locals can have somewhere to go. So the thinking, and you know, one thing with this government, we apply strategic thinking to everything. Everything. So, you know, when the Freeport was developed along the coast, very important that it was actually coastal, so that because it's close to the port as well, because the idea was like manufacturing, you get on a ship and you go. But things have kind of changed a little bit, because most of what the work that the free zone is doing has nothing to do with shipping. We ship it via email. In other words, the Freeport is now doing digital services, BPOs. They don't need to occupy valuable premium port lands. So where they need to be is actually beside efficient public transportation. So people can get to work easily. Right now it's chaos to get into the Freeport. So just this move is going to increase the efficiency of the town, but increase the value and productivity. And redirect traffic from outside of the town. To allow Montego Bay to be able to breathe. Madam Speaker, the vision does not stop at Freeport. What we are proposing is the transformation of the entire coastal corridor, from the Freeport sweeping eastward to Harmony Beach Park, along the waterfront, and all the way to the iconic Hip Strip. This breathtaking stretch of Caribbean coastline will be unified into one seamless, world-class leisure, entertainment, and shopping corridor. The top road, Minister, what's the proper name of the top road? The Queen's Drive.
Top road is like.
Is the president of Montego Bay. Top road, as we all know it. Very, very few people know it as Queen's Drive. The top road will be dualized. That's a very important point. The top road will be dualized to handle traffic efficiently, while the bottom road, but when we talk about transforming tourism, that's what we really have to do. Right? We have to do that. So we're going to use the opportunity of Hurricane Melissa to just deal with these matters once and for all. Nara will deal with them once and for all. Madam Speaker, we are also examining ways to enhance the elegant corridor between Sangster International Airport and the Montego Bay Convention Center. Yes. You know, it's called the elegant corridor. I must tell you, it still has some elegance to it, but it needs a refresh. Yes, it needs a refresh. So we're going to be examining ways to do that. One of the big challenges with the elegant corridor, and the Minister of Tourism will tell you, and I'm saying this for the hearing of those persons who operate hotels along the corridor, is the noise pollution. You see, Madam Speaker, when the North Coast Highway was being developed, that section was technically supposed to be a boulevard. Right? So, you know, in designing cities and towns, you know, streets lead on to boulevards. So streets empty traffic onto boulevards, and boulevards carry them onto highways. But what has happened is that this road is neither a boulevard or street, or it is playing all these roles. And it is carrying heavy traffic like a highway, but people have to exit to go into the hotels or go into the business places. Worst of all, and what really sometimes I'm very distressed when I see it, the hop, skip, and jump of workers trying to move across the road to get to the hotel. It doesn't make sense. So that entire elegant corridor has to be redefined and re-engineered to deal with soundproofing by building natural sound barriers, grade separation and tunneling so that you can move across, and building, because there is enough space in several areas to also build a kind of local road that connects all the hotels. Then you go under or over and you're onto golf course or wherever, to really make the tourism product more seamless and of greater value and greater attractiveness. Madam Speaker, Black River, Madam Speaker, like Black River, Falmouth is a case study in the existential vulnerability of low-lying coastal communities to the intensifying impacts of climate change. The flooding of the town, the failure of its drainage infrastructure, and the severing of its road connections during Hurricane Melissa were not random misfortunes. They were the predictable consequences of a town whose layout, institutions, and infrastructure were simply never designed for the climate realities we face today. We cannot simply rebuild what was there. We must fundamentally reorganize Falmouth. I see, Madam Speaker, big smile on the Member of Parliament for North Trelawney, who, unlike most MPs, she actually lives in her constituency and lives in the town of Falmouth. All right, member from Southwest St. Catherine. The drag line, who else lives in their constituency?
So guys, massive improvement, massive development is coming for certain parishes. Yeah, the Prime Minister will talk about Hanover. Yeah, talk about Manchester, St. Elizabeth. Yeah, Ochorius, massive road infrastructure going to put in place, massive development. You understand what I mean? You listening to the Prime Minister, it's a breath of fresh air, especially when you talk about certain areas in Jamaica. For instance, like Hanover, you know, the West that is suffering from developments over the years. You understand what I mean? I'm happy for the people in the West that they are finally getting attention. And being that they supported the criminal organization PMP for over the almost 50 odd years, and they have no form of development, yeah? And this Prime Minister, the most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, come in power to give them the development that they really deserve. Because the truth and in fact is the West have potential. The West full of potential. You understand what I mean? Let me tell you this. You see, if the PMP didn't mean the West no good, the West would look like Ochorius or look like Montego Bay up to today. If the PMP didn't really meant the West any good. You understand what I mean? But and then we're going a little deeper. When you look, you see them have Prime Minister, they have Agriculture Minister, they have Tourist Minister, they have Water Minister, they have all type of minister. You understand what I mean? And look on the West today. But listen to me, under the most Honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, this country going to develop and develop rapidly the next 5 years. We're going to bounce back, and we're going to bounce back really stronger after Melissa. I'm happy for the bypass that is going to continue in Manchester from Williamsfield. You understand what I mean? They're going to bypass Pertree Hill. Oh my God. Let me tell you something. Be happy. Be happy for the truck driver them. Me happy because indeed they really need another alternative to bypass Pertree Hill. Pertree Hill too deep. It's too deep. It's too deep, man. Yes, I mean. So, people, wanna big up on yourself, and tomorrow we'll continue to listen to the Prime Minister about the presentation because a lot of information is there and a lot of things to impact. You understand what I mean? I mean, I got bored with the presentation and so forth. So, I'm going to make you get some rest. You understand what I mean? And join me tomorrow morning, while we unpack the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Horner's budget presentation. And listen to me. And see how man command respect. The most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Horner's don't demand respect. He command the respect. You understand what I mean? The man just present in budget presentation and people in part, you hear me? The opposition and the ministers on both sides just, listening, tap their eyes and just listen to when big man speak. Big up to the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Horner. It captivating bad. Me just love it. Everything about it just vibes it. You understand what I mean? Me hear the Prime Minister with many budget presentation. And believe you me, certain part of the budget presentation, boring. You understand what I mean? But this one, oh my God, it's nice right through. And let me tell you something. Me feel happy. Me say, man, just make me whole week. Me I tell you, man. Adjo, big up on yourself. Big up yourself, Adjo. Big up yourself. Guys, big up on yourself. And we'll talk again tomorrow. You understand what I mean? We'll soon do again tomorrow. So, no bless up on yourself. And take care of yourself. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. And happy Monday for those who in a different time zone. But big up on yourself. I appreciate each and every one of them. Remember to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Remember to turn on that notification bell that whenever time I uploaded a video, you will be the first one to be notified. Bless up on yourself. But before me even say bless up on yourself, you see how much things in this budget presentation to unpack. You see the gleaner, the propaganda machinery for the paper. You see them publish the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Horner's speech. How much time you see the gleaner publish the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Horner's speech? How much time? How much time? Remember, man going to parliament and talking about full of crap. And every day the gleaner finds something out of my going speech unpack and posting on them front page. So what happened to all of them development and them things that the most honorable Dr. Andrew Michael Horner's been talking about? Nothing to make front line? All right, we need one next time. So the bless